Sit back and relax while you listen to Train Kickers podcast. I'm Dave, and with my friend Dan, we plan to inform and entertain you everything miniature wargame related. On this episode of the podcast, we're going to go over a little bit of what we've been doing, some of the news that's going around, and we're going to get into the topic of 3D printing and its impacts on the hobby. Now, on to the show. So, Dan, how have you been? This just about 1 week since the last episode.
Yeah, I've been doing pretty good. I mean, work's been killing me, but I've been modeling away all my pain and suffering.
That sounds good. I've been helping my wife has a baking business, so I've been helping her with a lot of things. So this week ended up being a bit busier than I thought in a way I didn't anticipate. But that's all right. You know, it'll start to slow down as we get past the holidays and all of that. But so why don't we start with what have you been up to? Have you actually done anything this week? I know I haven't.
Have not. I feel great shame. So I assembled my Infinity finally.
You're a better man than I am.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say and you know me. I usually assemble things and then I paint them immediately, or I paint them within that week. You know, I kind of focus in hardcore. But I don't know. Just this week has been grinding me down. So I assembled them on Monday, and then a bunch of stuff just happened at work, and they've just been sitting there on the table, which kind of sucks. But it is sometimes you can focus and sometimes you can't. So I took refuge in Guild Wars, which is an MMO, Guild Wars 2, which is an MMO.
I do love that
for a little bit. Yeah. That was my little release for the week. Something I don't have to build or paint or anything. Just something that I could play easily.
And it's exactly, and you know it very well, so you can just kind of like get more into
exactly.
Not even having to think about what you're doing.
I mean, not to go on a rant, but Guild Wars does there's usually what I do is World v World, which is you get so you have your server versus another server versus another server. It's a 1v1v1, and there's 4 maps, and each map holds 200, 300 people per side, and there's always an overflow. So you'll have 300. If you get crazy, you can have 300 on 300 on 300 battles. It's absolutely insane. And there's siege equipment.
PvP. So it's PvP, but it's
it has PvP.
But it's like the server is the whole team versus all those other servers. Okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Yeah, there's siege catapults and everything. It's a lot of fun, and when you command, you only get to command 50. You know what I mean? So you'll have multiple commanders on a map, just going I'll be flanking someone with or flaming rams to knock down a gate while someone else is flanking on the other side of a gate. Yeah, but that's been my relaxing week.
Is it are you doing siege? Essentially, is what you're trying to do?
Yeah, it's essentially siege. You capture castles and keeps and camps and everything. That's how you get points. And it continually happens. You'll have the night guilds take over. Like if we capture the keep, which is one of the major point getters, it's the main castle in the middle of all the maps. So there's 4 separated maps they're all instanced, and then the middle map of the middle map, there's a castle that gives you a lot of points. It's called the keep, and if the game doesn't shut off. So if I go to bed at 9 o'clock, I better hope that another guild takes up the defense of that keep, because someone could come in and just take it over. So it's actually a lot. It is a lot of fun. So what have you been up to?
So so the rest of the Cruel Boys stuff came out. So
yes, it did.
I'm going to count buying things as part of the hobby. Why not? Because we need to do it. So I got more. What was it? Mordrak or whatever his name is? A bunch of the other things. A bunch of just crazy looking monsters with far too long of fingernails. Most are assembled. I did not get into any painting yet, but I have some people working on the house tomorrow, so I might be able to get a couple hours in then. I'd like to finish those kill bows I was working on, so that way I have another set. I did last Sunday actually get to play a game. Josh.
Oh, you did? I didn't even.
Yes.
Oh shit. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, because I went in on Sunday, bought my stuff, sitting there for a bit, assembling it. And the one guy, Josh, said, "Well, do you actually want to play?" I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I have 1,000 points painted. Let's," because I'd rather just play with the painted. It kind of helps motivate me to get it done.
Exactly.
He brought some Stormcast Eternals. I don't remember all the things. There was a list. I mean, it's 1,000 points. It was mostly, I think several of his things were some of the newer units mixed with some of the older ones. Some were the
Right,
guys
okay.
with the wings. I don't know the name. All I know is they have wings. They can like
Yeah,
charge.
I was gonna
They
say I
charge
don't
like
know any of them.
3d6, and they can throw hammers at you.
Oh, that's really cool, actually. Okay.
Yeah, the biggest thing that he brought a 3-pack of annihilators. I think they're the new models. They got
Oh
giant
yes, those are,
shields in front.
yes, I love them so much. Oh God, sorry.
No, that's not a problem. They do look very cool. They absolutely 100% live up to their name. So I had a little formation of Cruel Boys. I had units. One unit gut rep was on one side, one unit on the other side. They are being supported by some of our bow guys. I had some leader units running up with the one side, and he dropped this little 3-pack behind my army. I didn't realize at first that he could do that. He said he deep strike, but I didn't really think about those distances.
Yeah.
He goes behind. Well, when they land, they can do within, I believe it's 10 inches on like a
Yes,
3-up. They
mortal
do
wounds.
3 mortals. Yeah. So
Yeah.
now some of my units are small because that's just the size I put them at, because I wanted to try it out that way. So he's doing some wounds here and there. Then those guys get in and they charge my one of my bosses on his Gnash Tooth is the name of the creature he's on.
Mm-hmm.
And when they charge, if they're a unit of 3 or more, then for whatever distance they got on their charge, they roll a die. And on a 4-up, they cause a mortal wound.
Oh, so that's what the ogres have. So
Yep.
they have the chubby ogre rule.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because these guys are really stocky. They're
Oh,
they're
okay,
very
that
big.
makes sense. Okay.
Now, the roll gets worse if there's less models in the unit. Like if you kill one, because they started a group of 3. If you get them down to 2, I think it's -1. So they only do
Okay,
it
so
on
it's a
5
5-up.
ups.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
if you only have one guy left, that's on 6s. But he did. I want to say so. That model has 10 wounds. My boss on Gnash Tooth, he's got 10 wounds.
Mm-hmm.
Before he swung in combat, he had already lost, I think by that point, almost 8 between when they
Oof.
hit and when they
And the
charged in.
mortal wounds. Oh yeah.
Yep. And now my guy has a good save. I was able to give him the +1 save, all that kind of stuff. But I failed one. It's like 2 damage. Oh no, now he's dead. Where what makes it rough, so he ended up taking the game. It swung back and forth. It losing my general that early. I want to say it was turn 2. He got the double turn on me, so it was turn 2. Lost my general. Where Cruel Boys have their own special WA, where when I choose a unit to fight, if I choose my general, then once per game I can nominate 2 other units, and they will fight immediately after him.
Oh,
So
so
we
you kind of
skip.
break the I go you go. Okay.
Exactly. You get to skip it, which my plan was to do that. And then he had engaged me with about 2 other units. It was prosecutors were the guys with the wings and the hammers. He had a unit of prosecutors in on one side. He had another unit on the other side. My thought was, okay, I can actually get in here and lower his number so I don't take many wounds back. But he killed my general. It kind of ruined the plans. It was still good. Still very, very, very fun and close game. But near the end, he had a point in the back. We were, I forget the mission we were playing, but essentially we have an objective in each of our deployment zones, and there's 2 objectives along the midline. You get 1 point for your own, 2 points for the middle, 4 points for the enemy. He was able to grab mine and kind of keep that unit of annihilators there, and I
Hmm.
was just not in a position to be able to come back and really stop him.
Oh, that makes sense.
So yeah, so I was up, I think, when we called the game, but we were gonna go into, I think it was like turn 4, and I had just lost so many models, and I'm like, yeah, I'm up, but I'm not going to get any more points because now you're kind of everywhere. I had lost my one whole flank,
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
was very, very low on units, and it was kind of like, you know what? Nah, you definitely have it because you're going again, and I'm about to die.
Mm.
But it was nice to try them out.
I feel like they almost play like custodies, where you can't really
Oh yeah,
engage them. You have to bubble around your leaders because custodies do the same thing, and
yep.
you absolutely definitely have to just like mortal wound them down because you're not going to get through their armor
Now,
or
that we don't
rend them
struggle
down at
with.
least.
Oh, yeah, that we do not struggle with because if I roll 6s, I just cause you mortal wounds.
Yeah, that's yeah.
You
Ooh.
know,
Ugh.
it was. I did actually very well against units. The gut rippas, I mean, they're not great if they don't get mortal wounds, but a pack of 10 with with an upgraded guy to a leader. Pack of 10, it's 21 dice. You're rolling that. If you get a little lucky on sixes, you can put down some mortal wounds, enough to hopefully take out a couple models. Or
Exactly. Yeah.
if you buff them on fives and sixes. So
All
it was
right.
good. Yeah, it shows me a few things I gotta change up and
It
alter,
was your first.
but
Yeah, it was your first game, so it's like you learn the tactics as you go along. You know,
yeah, yeah,
no
first
one,
game of
no
this
one.
and then first game in
I'll put it
forever.
this way:
This
it was better. I'll say it was better than your your first game of fantasy.
uh, yeah. Well, fantasy was
Remember
always
that? I remember.
oh yeah, no, fantasy could always be rough, and that was fantasy. I found, at least in this now. Maybe because we were only playing 1,000 points. Maybe because he double turned me and then I double turned him. It felt a little swingy, but always close. Like he got the advantage, but then I was able to pull it back, and I started having the advantage and a little back
No,
and
I
forth.
agree. I talked about this before with the new edition
Mhm.
of Sigmar, adding those
Yeah.
secondaries
Hmm.
really, really, really helps out the game. Because
It really
before
does.
it was always get on the objective and basically try to fight it off. And it's same, like I said, it's the same issue 30K has. It doesn't make for nice gameplay. Having those
No.
secondaries that you both can achieve and they can be different make for really good gameplay. And it sometimes the games aren't close, sometimes the games are close, but it gives you more of a chance that they are close.
Yeah, you at least you feel you have options, and if it doesn't go well, you can usually point to, like, I felt like I maybe did some things wrong. Where if you have very few ways to score points, it's like, no, they just did things right, and I got screwed.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. All right. That was a
All
good
right.
conversation. All
Yeah.
right. So I mean, let's talk about some news because oh, the GW stuffs.
Yes, I don't know what you followed of this.
Oh yeah,
Have you
I
followed
found
any
oh
of the
I
NDA stuff?
I read the damn thing. So
Okay.
because remember I when I did a lot of
I
stuff at
figured you
college.
did, but I wasn't sure if you
Yeah,
kept up.
yeah, no, I the joys of being multi-major and then finally choosing one.
Mm,
Ugh. Anyway, no, so I read the NDA, and okay, so I'll be honest with you, I don't see the
yeah.
problem with it. I know the internet likes to burn everything to the ground and salty fury,
Hmm.
but I read the NDA, and to be quite honest, I I I didn't see much of a problem with it. It looked very much like a standard NDA to me. Um, I wish I had the notes I wrote. Can't find them anymore, but just I remember reading about it. Is the standard, not speaking, or when you get here, I'll use a video game example, or I'll use
Hmm.
a video game example. When you
Okay.
sign up for betas for video games or alphas for
Mm,
video games, and they give you an NDA, it's very much you're not allowed to speak badly about the product until the release of the product when you can review it. Um, and that was one of the things people were like, "Oh my God, they can't speak bad about GW when they're," and it's that's normal. That's a normal NDA thing. And
I
I don't know.
agree.
I found I found that people were trying to look for something. And I know that someone listening to this could be like, "Oh my God, he's on GW," or what do they call it? A simp for GW, right? He's
Yeah.
making excuses, and it's not that. I'll shit on
Apologies.
GW any day of the week for many different reasons. Uh, this is not one of them. This is not one of them. There are so many other things you can blame GW for, and to do this one is just I don't know, it's just a waste of time and effort. I don't know. What do you
I,
say?
I I agree with all of that except for a couple lines. It is very standard NDA. I've had NDAs in the past, and I've read through them. All of that's very standard. The part that I'm seeing, at least that people are noticing more, it's the part where it talks about what a restricted customer is and what you're allowed to do as someone under this NDA. So restricted customers, essentially, if you buy GDO products, they're labeling you a restricted customer. And a later line, I think it's 4.1.2 because I have it open here.
Let me see. I'm gonna open it up right
Says,
now.
yeah, if you have it, it's 4.1.2.
Okay, I got
Earlier,
it.
they mentioned restricted customers. So it says,
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Yep.
without GW's permission, at any time during the term, can you have any business dealings with a restricted customer? So now, will GW do all the things they could do with this? Probably not. I think it would be an uproar. But what that line can mean, the way it can be interpreted, especially, from maybe more of a law perspective is, you know, okay, I make content for them. Let's say I make content for them. All right, and I'm under this because they send me some stuff. Well, technically by that line, I can't accept anything or do any form of business dealings or anything like that with someone who also buys stuff from GW. Which means if I'm a big content creator, well, am I legally allowed to have a Patreon then under this?
No.
According to them,
Yeah, and
no.
that's yeah, no. And okay, so again, this gets into the Patreon debate of and
Mhm.
again, I know people are going to hate me for this, but if you are working for a company, right, and you are under
Mhm.
NDA, you are producing product for them, right? So I'm an animator, and I'm hired by GW to make animations for GW. I can't have a Patreon because it's not under fair use. Like if I was making a video reviewing their releases, or a podcast reviewing
Yep.
their releases, that falls under fair use, right? But I cannot take a copywritten Space Marine character. Now, be careful with this because I can make a Space Marine the Spots book. Remember that
Oh yeah,
nonsense?
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
make a
That's
Space Marine
space.
the Spots book, but I
Mhm.
cannot make an animation of a Space Marine character and then get paid for it. Now, if they ignore me, fine. By all means, I can get paid. But if they come at me, that is not my product. That is not my copyright.
Okay.
I am taking someone's copyright and essentially making profit off of it without their permission. And
Uh,
as much as that sounds bad, uh, that's how it works.
so I do agree with that, but let's keep in mind some of these other people who sign NDAs or could very well be asked or have been asked. So so you mentioned content creators. So one of the ones I watch, what is it? Guerrilla Warfare games. I forget the
It's
exact
GMG,
title.
yeah, Guerrilla Warfare, yeah,
Yeah.
love them.
So they have a signed NDA because GW sends them things. They send them books and things like that. So then can they go after them for, not for trying to
Eh,
sell GW stuff? That's I
exactly.
don't think it no one's saying that like you can sell
Well,
GW
here's the
stuff and
thing:
they can't care.
is
Go ahead.
he making money off of a review? Or is he making money off of playing the games? Or, and this is where it gets tricky, is
Mhm.
he making money off of like a liked product? Like so
So
yeah,
I would think in terms of that, if you're doing YouTube, part of it would be in terms of your reviews and things like that,
which
your
falls under
critique.
and that falls under fair use. That
But
falls under the fair use.
does their NDA protect you under fair use, or does it say that you can't make if you have this with us, you can't make money off any of these people?
So that's and I saw this and I answered this on the
Yeah.
Reddit as well. That's comes up to a court case. So if
Yeah.
GW, so this is the problem again with I'm gonna laugh because I said this is the problem with GW writing rules. It's almost like they write the rules like they write their NDAs with broad strokes of a pen.
Oh
That
yeah.
and then it comes down to a judge. What a judge says, because the problem is that you have something that is very okay. Let's say GMG Guerrilla War Games does a review
Yeah.
that GW doesn't like. Right? He completely shits on something,
Mhm.
and GW essentially strikes their YouTube video. And they say,
Mhm.
no, we don't like this because your Patreon is getting paid. So then here's the problem. There's multiple, as someone who studied law for a little while, this is the problem
Mhm.
now. One, one would argue, why did you not strike him before? You knew already that he had a Patreon for this X
Precedent.
amount of months. Why, you have basically, you've set up, man, it's late at night. So I'm thinking about law is so
It's
great.
precedent.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
setting precedent. It's like
Mhm.
why have you not done this before? And that's an easy argument to basically derail their argument.
Yeah.
Um, if if he started making animations, GW would have more of an argument to shut it down because it said he is a review channel. Now he's taking our product and monetizing it and not giving us
Mhm.
money. So that might be an issue. But I think that so there was a recent case about this.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember. It was a recent YouTuber. I'm trying to remember who it was, and I cannot remember for the life of me. But essentially, it was the same issue. He was reviewing a video game, his YouTube, and he did not review the video game well. He received a strike on YouTube, a copyright strike on YouTube, and the YouTuber fought and won, essentially, got that strike removed because he argued they have never struck in any one of my other videos, right? Except the one video that basically laid claim that their video game was pretty much awful, right? And
Yeah.
reviews fall under fair use. Now, he wasn't under NDA, but it too long didn't read or too long didn't hear. It comes down to what the judge wants to argue. If they want to bring it to court, they can, but then you also have the court of public opinion. That's a problem. Corporations sometimes heed this and sometimes don't. There is the court of public opinion, so you have to weigh in. You have to balance that. Can you make more money suing this content creator who might have a Patreon, or will you lose more? Like, will you lose more money by
lose more?
Yeah, exactly. So I think, and that's why I think that, I mean, we look at the person who made Astartes, right?
Yeah.
When GW scooped him up very quickly, right? And he had a Patreon too. Made a lot of money on the Patreon. I was one of the people who was on Patreon with him. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel any type of way because now he's actually getting the salary from GW. He's making the content for the corporation that he was making the content for in the first place. So, you know what I mean? But yeah. It's to me, I was gonna say, I'm looking at the line again, the one that you referenced. I don't know. It's just, to me, it's a normal NDA. There's enough broad strokes in the NDA that so one can argue either which way, but then it comes down to what a judge wants to argue and how a lawyer is going to present it and what court case and what evidence he's going to prove in court. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I do agree with a lot of that. I don't, the more we talk, the less concerned I feel about it. I still think it's something people have to watch and be careful about, just because, with those sort of broad languages, like, I didn't see this in there. I'm sure they mentioned where arbitration would happen, and I'm sure they put in the UK because obviously that's much more favorable for them. But, I don't necessarily think it's going to be, it's too big of a deal, but I do think people need to keep an eye on it and see how and in which ways they enforce it.
It's there until they
causing problems. Yeah.
It's there, it's there, and it's going to be there until they actually point to it. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think anyone will. I don't think GW ever will.
Especially not that it's out now.
Yeah. And I've seen the NDAs of, like I said, I've signed NDAs and I've seen other NDAs, and this is not the strictest one. I'll put that out there.
No,
it's
not.
Nowhere near the strictest one I've ever seen. And sure, it has broad language, but I've seen some even more loophole language in other NDAs. So again, I think again, it's people reacting to something that they want to react. You want to listen. You want to react to GW, or say that they don't pay their workers enough money, right? That's one of the major criticisms of GW currently. That's a good criticism. But the NDA, it's find something else. I don't know.
When you're talking about for the video games, the person you're thinking was Jimquisition.
Yes.
The review was for Tashagun Rise of the Emperor, where he gave it a bad review, and the publisher of that game went after him and got a strike. And then he said, I do tons of reviews. And I do watch him. I don't watch him all the time, but I do watch this particular YouTuber, and it isn't always positive. It absolutely is very often not, but it's entertaining. So, I mean, that concept of, good publicity and bad publicity. Is there really necessarily a difference? And I apologize if I misgendered them. I'm not sure if he goes by he or she currently. So if so, I do apologize.
I usually just use they.
Yeah,
that's what I do it as a teacher.
They. Yeah,
that's what I've been doing.
True, yeah, let's go with that. All right, so there's
all right.
I don't know. Is there anything else in GW wise? I haven't seen anything. I don't follow the 40K, so I don't know if there's
no. There's the Dark Angels. I don't think they're on pre-release yet. So So I'm gonna check the page real quick. Give me like 5 seconds with my super fast new gaming computer.
I heard about I thought wasn't there some rumblings of Eldar or something like that?
So what the rumbling is that Custodes and Gene Stealer Cults will be coming out in December. They
Okay.
are so I finally did subscribe to Warhammer Plus, and God damn it, I like it. Jesus Christ, I hate
So,
myself for saying that.
so do I
The
need to
animations are good.
subscribe, or do I just need to ask for your login
Yeah.
information? Which
So,
one is it? Is it good enough
oh,
to
so
subscribe?
I think it's good enough to subscribe because here's the thing: you also get a
Okay.
miniature. So the miniature is what are single miniatures? $35. So,
About that, yeah.
so if you're going to get the miniature anyway, right? I think it's an orc model or an assassin model. That's already $35. I wanted the assassin model because that just fucking looks awesome.
Yeah.
And that was going to be $35. So it's a $50 subscription. So 35 minus 50 is 15. So I'm basically
Yep.
paying 15 because I'm getting the model anyway. That's how I
Hmm.
look at it. But even so, it's a $50 subscription. There's not enough content to warrant a subscription right now because they
Okay.
release like it's like almost Netflix. It's they don't do weekly releases. It's more of like they release an episode twice a month,
Okay.
right? But
Okay.
damn, those episodes are good. God, like okay, so I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a Blood Angel. It's the same guy who did crap the Black Templar one on YouTube.
I know who you're talking about, but I do not know the name.
It's driving up the wall, and so it's the same guy, same style, that black and white, right? And so the whole thing is very Sin City. It's all black and white except for accents of red, and I think blue sometimes that are covered, right? And
Mhm.
it's just so good. The voice acting is on point. The animation, the faces were a little wonky, right? He always put helmet on his YouTube guys. I don't think he ever really did really good with faces. That's my only
Yeah, he
criticism.
probably just doesn't do
The,
them well, so
yeah,
he just
the
always
the
covered them up.
voice acting though, amazing. The action, amazing. Like seeing the Terminators actually fighting Gene Stealer. Oh, sorry, seeing the Terminators fight something in the corridors is just it brings it to life, and it brings it to life in such a way that it's bloody. Like it is not a kid show.
Mm.
It is it is extremely violent, and they do have the Hammer and Bolter episodes, and Hammer and Bolter are less animation, more storybook, if you will. Like they're
Okay.
animated, but animated in such a way that they're like more cartoony. If that makes
Okay.
any sense. Oh, see,
So,
I'll
so,
send you.
so is
Yeah.
it like is it actual animation, or is it more of like movement on
No,
like
no,
almost like a
it
book
is
page?
actual animation, but the style is different. So like,
Okay.
here, let me watch this. The easiest way. But you know, the animation is different, but and they're more like short stories. So like the Blood Angel ones is a series, right? So it's you're
Mm.
following the Blood Angels, but the whatchamacallit, let me see if I can picture. There we go. So I just going to send you something real quick. Funny enough.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so although it's much more blocky there, I don't know why it did that, but I guess but it is smooth animation, but just the style of animation is different. And it's again more short story. Once the story's over, it's over. Um, so there's not enough there to subscribe yet. I subscribe one because I'm also using the apps as well. That was the other reason. Um, and two, it's just I kind of want to support the creators because the Hell's Reach, damn it, that's what it's called.
Those are,
The guy who
yes.
did Hell's Reach.
There you go.
I mean, I want to support him. That Blood Angel show is well beyond, and you could tell that like if you look at like Hell's Reach, how it first started. Again, no criticism
Mhm.
against the artist. That was his person, but it was very pencil drawn and very crudely drawn.
Yeah.
The
A little
first
rough.
episode of Blood Angels is just it's like there's one. I think episode 4 is just fleet battles, just straight up Battlefleet Gothic, and seeing
Mm.
the strike cruiser just launch bombardment cannon shots and tear. Oh my god! Oh my god! It's so hard to explain how awesome it was to just look at that and not. I'm like, I almost was like, how much is a Blood Angels captain? That's how bad it was. Or
So,
how
so
good
it's
it
doing.
was. Dark Angels. Some some sneak previews of what's coming up, and that's the Dark Angels with the really cool like skull mask.
Mhm.
They released finally another Horus Heresy book. The Warhawk, which is the Khan,
Okay.
which oh my god, they still haven't released the damn model from Forge World. Oh my god.
Has Forge World been ha- through all
Huh?
of this pandemic and all? Have they been going strong, or
Oh
have they been really
yeah.
slowed
Like
down?
people I love the salty people that go 30K is dead. I love it. It puts a smile on my face how salty people can be because Forge World has steadily been releasing like 30K models. Just recently they released Ultramarines, right? And there's before that they actually released Argol Tal. Okay, hold on. Argol Tal, the demon dude from the word berries. I can't remember
Okay.
his damn
I think
name.
it's Argo Tau.
Yeah,
I believe
and
that's
like
what.
that, they just released him. They're releasing the Ultramarines. They released some Ultramarines that look absolutely amazing.
Crazy they weren't out already.
Well, I remember a lot of the previews. Oh yeah, Argol Tal. Like I'm looking at Forge World right now. Yeah, the Ultramarine Legion Praetor they released. Oh man, a lot of it went out of stock quick. They also have a lot of the
That is
Death
the problem
Core.
Sportsworld has.
Death Core came back. Like people were very angry that Death Core was like temporarily out of stock, and they thought Death Core was going to go away, and then all of a sudden now they're back in stock. Yeah, and this Terminator Praetor is just, oh my god. He's got his tactical rock, but just like he looks like an Ultramarine. Like he's about ready to just Ultramar. But yeah, no, they've been releasing. I mean, the joke is though that the Warhawk book came out before the actual Warhawk. That's the only
Okay.
Primarch they have not released, and it's like it's been teased, it's been joked, and it's just they have not released it yet, and everyone's like, please, 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 Forge World,
So
just
they haven't even
give me a little bit.
shown what this guy
No,
looks like at all.
no,
Okay. They haven't shown
no.
anything.
They haven't mentioned him. They haven't talked. They did nothing. Absolutely nothing.
All right.
But he's the last one, so maybe soon. Hinted, wink, wink, hopefully. All right, yeah.
Well, and I know they talked about Black Templars. I know that they previewed some stuff for them too. So
Yeah,
all
and
kinds
that was
of
all at the
140K.
recent. That was like the recent thing that they previewed all that stuff at.
Yeah. All right. So for non GW, non big boy in the room, although potentially a bigger boy here. Um, so this occurred last week. This has occurred several times, but we'll see if anything happens. So Asmodee has their owner has put them up to market. So they're owned by
Okay,
PAI. It's a French company. They're an investment firm. Essentially, they invest in companies. They try to make some money out of them, and then they, try to flip them and ship them off somewhere else.
exactly.
So they were bought in 2018 for 1.2 billion. They were bought before for 100 and some million. Right now they put them up on the market for 2 billion. They're hoping
Not
someone will
bad.
buy.
What do they produce? I'm trying to. They do Marvel, Star Wars, right? Do they
So
do
so
Arkham? Is that too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of those that you're mentioning there are essentially either done by Fantasy Flight Games or Atomic Max Games, both
Okay,
of which are under the Asmodee umbrella.
got it.
For Asmodee, they are the biggest, I would say overall, the other than like Hasbro, when you think of sort of the hobby, they're the biggest publisher of games because of just the amount of studios they own. They have a lot of studios that
That
are
makes
under
sense.
them. I think like I think like even ones like Stronghold Games and stuff like that. There's a lot of other studios under them, so that they've got a lot of things there. Actually, for a while, what they were doing, like FFG originally wasn't owned by Asmodee. They bought them up. They created Atomic
Ah,
Mass Games out of it. Yeah, they like a lot of these other big companies, the same way Sony and Microsoft did. They went around trying to gobble up all the smaller guys. They did the same thing. Um, Part of it
okay.
is theoretically because like, oh, we can help you with distribution. We can do all this kind of stuff because we have a big network now. Asmodee's distribution has always been crap, and it still is, and it's pandemic has only made it worse. But you know, there's some of those reasons involved. Now, will anyone buy them? Um, Honestly, I don't
Probably
think
not.
so. Yeah. I
Probably
the
not.
only people who might would be another investing firm. And even then,
Okay,
you gotta look at it and think you're gonna get more than $2 billion worth of value out of it. And I don't
that makes
know.
sense.
I
Oh, makes sense.
there was concerns years ago. I don't know when it started, but years ago, I remember hearing people concerned that like Hasbro was going to buy them out. Like Hasbro was going to own it, and because that way they can get the lines that they don't currently have. Like maybe because they might want Marvel lines or Star Wars lines and all of this other stuff, but I don't think it's going anywhere. And if it does, I would be surprised if there's any effect felt worse than what the pandemic's doing to it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Um, one other bit of news that I
Oh,
I
go ahead.
just found out earlier today, because it just happened today, was that the company that does Dust, or like Dust
Yes, yeah.
1947 Dust Tactics, they went under.
Oh, no, really?
Went under as of like they put up the notice earlier today or late last night. I forget exactly the timeline.
Crap.
Yeah, it just happened.
Oh, that's sucks actually, because Dust is a. Remind on, this is Dust, right? Hold on. Is Dust the one that produces those really cool miniatures? Hold on, give me a second here.
um,
No, there's.
they do
Go ahead.
weird war is probably the best way to describe it. So we've had them in the store before. They produce reasonably large miniatures, World War II style, but they also have zombies and Nazi experiment ones and stuff like
They
that.
do.
So it's
They do Dust 1947 though, right?
yeah. So it was originally Dust Tactics, released in about 2010.
Yeah, they do the little cool
And
robots.
then
I know. Yeah.
later, yeah, then 2016 they released Dust 1947, where they essentially cleaned up the rules, they cleaned up the game, and all of that. But they got like a lot of
Sucks.
walkers and stuff like that. It's alternate
Yeah, I know. I'm
World War
looking at.
II.
Yeah, I remember they're looking at their robots because they also came pre-painted sometimes, right? Like
They
this is.
came in colored plastics.
Oh, okay.
And I think there was some painting to it. So like if you got Americans and their or allies, it might have been Americans or it might have been allies, I'm not sure which. They had like say stars on them. So they would be like a green sort of color and then they would have stars on them. I don't think everything came painted. I could be wrong though. That's
And that
definitely
actually
possible. But I know
that blows.
yeah. They're I'm trying to find it now. I was looking at it earlier, their information about it. They actually wrote it up sort of like if you think of end of World War II,
I'm watching.
there
I'm looking
was
at read. Yep, I'm
the,
reading it
the,
right
the
now.
yeah the front page news kind of look and all of that, and they did like one of those, which I think that was a
So
nice.
sad though. Yeah.
It is exceptionally sad. It's always a shame when you see a miniature game or a miniature company go under because
Not
you,
and
you
no fault of their own, because there are some where you're like, damn it, miniature company, you should have listened. It's
yeah.
Firestar Ramada. God damn it. Still salty.
I understand. Or in their case, like I said, it's shipping costs and
Yeah.
production costs and all that stuff has gone insane, and they no way could
Brexit.
anticipate it.
Yeah. What a
But
shame.
yeah,
What a freaking shame.
it is. Earlier today, I was reading an article just about like, hey, with what's going on and these shipping concerns and how containers are now 5-6 times what they used to be. What's going to happen? It's really causing a lot of problems in the miniature game hobby or just in board game hobby. I have a Kickstarter that would have probably been in pretty soon, but it's going to come in now early next year because shipping costs are insane. So I think to some extent they're trying to wait it out a little bit and hope it potentially gets better
It makes sense. Makes sense.
because they want to be able to make some money off of what they're doing.
Kind of hoping that like Ninja Division doesn't go under. Because I purchased Ninja Division is the Super Dungeon Explorer guys. I
Got
still
it.
get their models for Dungeons and Dragons when I do it with my students. Because the chibi models are great stuff to use for like models for Dungeons and Dragons. So one can only hope.
Odd that you
Oh
don't
man,
use anything from the Reaper Bones line for that.
kids. So I could, but kids
But
tend to like the anime. The kids love anime, and Super Dungeon Explorer has that anime chibi vibe to it, and they absolutely adore it. They absolutely adore it.
okay. No, that makes sense. I definitely understand that then.
Yeah.
Like, huh. So I mean
All right.
that leads well into the main topic tonight, which is about 3D printing.
Yes.
Because
Yeah. Let's do it.
you see a company that this go under, and now I'll be honest, I don't know anyone who played the game. I know some people at the store kind of had some stuff and maybe played here and there. So I don't know how popular it was. I
To
don't know
be
how
honest, people
well
usually
it
collected
was.
the models. They use the
Yes.
models and they use them for like third-party games, essentially.
Great. I think their stuff was really good looking in terms of some of
Yes.
those models. But I mean, so maybe the company was looking super awesome for a long time. Maybe the company was looking really bad for a while. That I don't know. But when
Mm,
you when you see something like this occur, then it does make you wonder and think of what's going to happen in the future, and how can miniature companies continue to thrive in these very tough environments, especially when we
absolutely.
start talking about 3D printing. So,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
maybe you have more experience with
Let's
this. What can you explain about 3D printing?
So I I don't own a 3D printer, and I know we're gonna talk about this a little
Yeah,
later about like some of the bad things about a 3D printer, but I do not own a
agreed.
3D
Neither
printer.
do I.
But I've had much experience purchasing from multiple people who have had 3D printers, and just to kind of list the amount of stuff. So I've purchased stuff from people who have done Epic for me, Epic 40,000. I've
Mhm.
purchased 3D printed weapons and bits for my custodies, mechanicus, pretty much all my armies. I've done people who've done my entire battle fleet, almost not almost. Oh, sorry, some of my battle fleet Gothic ships are 3D printed. My knight bits. So like when I do my custodies knights, and I again those are bits that that people custom print for me.
Mm.
Um, that's my extent so far. But I mean, it goes far in that. I mean, if I wanted to, I've seen people 3D print whole entire armies that sometimes look
Yeah,
good, depending on the, then sometimes look awful, depending on the
I've
printer.
seen some real bad ones.
I've seen the bad ones, but no, I think I don't know if you saw it on the chat I was showing you. Someone 3D printed a freaking 28 millimeter Warbringer.
Yeah, I
Did
did
you
see
see
that.
did you see that? Oh my god! And it's beautiful.
It
It's
really is.
beautiful. I don't even say, oh my god. And I'm looking at like, okay, I like that is definitely a $4,000 printer, printing at least $2,000 worth of resin. But yeah, no.
Over
So
the
stuff like
course
that
of
is
like
like,
a month,
yeah.
nonstop printing.
But yeah, no, that's my experience with 3D printers. I do not own them, but I should also point out I do on my computer have the actual program to call it screw around with actual STL files. So I
Yeah,
when I do get STL files from, let's say, Thingiverse, I'm able to kind of move them around or do stuff with them using the program that I have. So it's not that even though I don't have a 3D printer, I can send that file over to someone to then be printed. If that makes any
yeah.
sense.
So I, to kind of just put a little front to the thing. So
Yeah.
there's various types of 3D printers. I mean, these things have been actually around since like the 80s. Um, very small applications back then and all. And some of the early applications, the goal was in terms of medical and medicine and all that kind of stuff. But when you think of 3D printers today, what most people think of are SLA printers or FDM printers. SLA is
Yes.
stereolithograph. So those are like your resin printers, things like that. That's essentially where it dips itself down into, say, your resin. It prints the object upside down and slowly lifts itself out. Or you have FDM, so fused depositing models, which are usually the ones you see more often for terrain. To those ones where you have your spool of filament, and as it goes across the plate, it's laying it down on top of that. So those are the main two types that we see um, being used in the hobby. If you are going to 3D print something, say you have one or getting it from somewhere, anything like that, you need essentially an AutoCAD made file, which as you mentioned, Thingiverse has a lot of them. There's
Oh,
just
a lot.
people out there. Oh yeah, and a good amount for free and some paid as well. I mean,
Well,
if you're
so Thingiverse is free, and
yeah,
the
okay, it's a
paid
popular.
one is of course it disappears from my mind as we talk about it. Now Thingiverse is one, and then the other one is, oh my lord. I keep talking, I'll find it.
All right. What I will mention is there's definitely a variety of places out there you can find. So my mini factory stuff like that. There's a variety of them out there. There is some people that you can join, say they're Patreons, and all they do is these STL files. So they create files for various things. If you're a patron of theirs, hey, you get some extra files. You get this, that you can buy. I know at the store, they bought the STL
There it
file
is.
for Dracula's castle. from like
Yes.
Curse of Strahd, which it is crazy and big and would be awesome if you had enough printers and time to print it, because the thing is legitimately several feet wide. Forget the exact measure, but it is huge. What did you find? Did you find what you're
Oh,
looking for?
Shapeways. It's called Shapeways.
Shapeways. Yeah,
Yes,
that's it.
Shapeways is yeah. Those are your two kind of main websites for 3D printing. There are other
That's true.
ones, but
Yeah.
those are your two main ones.
Yeah. So I mean, so you take this file, you either make it yourself if you happen to have AutoCAD skills, or you get it from someone else. You you put it together. You tell the printer how to actually put it on. Like I said, if it's resin based, how to put it on a plate. Which there you're going to want to do essentially slicing up. So if you think of the file overall, if you think of the model, let's say you're going to print a Space Marine. I mean it's IP infringement, but let's say you're going to print a non-IP infringing Space Marine.
Hypothetically speaking,
Yeah.
hypothetically speaking,
If you were making
GW,
up your
calm down.
own weird chapter of something, if you want to print that guy, let's say you're using a Renderson printer, then you're going to essentially take this file and you're going to use a slicing program, something like say Lychee Slicer, and you're going to tell it, okay, hey, for this thing, here's the size I'm going to make it, orientation, all of that. And what you really need to do with that is you need to be able to build up the supports around it, because otherwise, obviously, as it's printing, the resin gets exceptionally hard, but it doesn't until you clean it, you UV light it, all of that. Until then, it's very soft, and things can break, and things absolutely do break. So you need potentially a lot of supports depending on the shape. So you're using these programs to tell it how are you going to lay one layer at a time, because the way it actually prints essentially is one layer of material at a time. Puts a layer down, pulls itself up, and then puts the next layer down. And how are you going to support these things so that way parts don't fall apart? You do that. You stick it in a printer first, depending on what you're printing, for a while or a very, very long time. And then you got a model. You can clean it up. If it's resin based, you got to use some UV light, things like that to cure it, and then you are good to go. So there's at least a little bit about how they work. If anyone's unfamiliar, you can definitely go and look and find a lot more detail and other types of printers and all of that. But those are the main ones used in the hobby. Our store that Dan and I go to, Maplewood Hobby, in Maplewood, New Jersey, we have both a resin printer there and an FDM printer. Although I don't remember if the resin printer is working right this moment, but we do have both. And a lot of us have printed off various bits of armies and stuff like that with it. And you've used it, right?
Yeah, I used it to print, like I said, Custodes bits. That was my big thing. I printed Custodes bits with it.
Okay. Oh yeah, because you got your battle fleet somewhere else, right? You didn't print that there.
Yeah, so my battle fleet was printed by a friend of mine, Bo, who has his own 3D printer. And I mean, again, we'll talk about this later, like where we get our 3D prints and stuff from some companies. But yeah, I got access to some wonderful Space Marine STL files. Actually, not even me. He had them that he got off of Patreon. And I told him what, and they were super customizable. So I told him what I needed them to be customized as, and he printed them and shipped them over to me. And it was super cheap. I mean, well, I wouldn't say super cheap, but it was definitely less expensive than the original metal models, if not the same
absolutely.
price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the cost of 3D printing is really the initial upfront cost of buying a 3D printer.
Yeah.
Which can be high, and then it's time. It's not even the resin. The resin is very, very cheap.
Actually, let me.
Go ahead.
3D printers actually are not that expensive anymore. A good 3D printer will run you like expensive is expensive is what's the word I'm looking for? Opinionated. But like a good 3D printer will be $500-$600. And that's a pretty damn good 3D printer. I mean, it's not going to maybe print a Space Marine for you, but if you're printing bits for your Space Marines or guns for your Space Marines or weapons or shoulder pads or Titan weapons, right, for Titanicus, $500 to $600 will easily print all of your needs, or name tags, even name tags for your Marines. That will easily. And you think about it, what bits? So let me see here. Titanicus weapons cost. What?
What is it, $20?
$12?
$12 each? Is that right?
I think let me see. Hold on. Give me 5 seconds.
Well,
Let's
so
type
while you look
500.
that up and check,
Yeah.
I was just looking at prices on So if you think of different makers for 3D printers,
Yeah. Yeah. Go
Anycubic
ahead.
is one of the big companies. You can get now. This is not their top of the line model. They have
Ooh.
much better models, but you can get a very good, nice starter printer with the wash and cure machine for sub 500.
Oh
The
wow,
wash and
that's
cure
even
is
cheaper
actually
than I thought.
more. Yeah, their
So
photon
okay, ready?
monos 190.
So weapons are $18 to $24. So let's go 20. Let's go smack dab in the middle. twenty
Yeah,
dollars. Actually, 22 would be in the middle, wouldn't it? Right? Math
yeah,
teacher,
about there.
help me. So I'm gonna do
Yeah,
20 to make my life
close
easier.
enough.
So $20. So you say so. Let's say I'm gonna use the word 500. Right? I'm gonna use 500
Mhm.
since that again. I'm
Yeah,
using easy
nice round
math
number.
here because yeah, exactly. So you think that you print 25 weapons, you've already made the price of the printer. Now here's the fun part. You're not going to need 25 weapons for Titanicus ever. But you take those
No.
weapons and you let your friends have them and maybe trade them for some monetary trade, bartering, if you will. I give you said weapon and maybe you drop, a couple dollars on the floor by accident and I retrieve them, but you don't need them back. Kind of nonsense. It makes your money back. It makes your money back almost when you get it. And then even so,
Yeah.
like you think, BattleTech is another thing that people have been 3D printing, and
Mhm.
again, we'll talk about that. But that's a company that actually has embraced 3D printing, believe
Oh,
it or
good.
not. Yeah, we'll talk about. Oh my god, um, but yeah, no. BattleTech miniatures are $15 a pop. Um, you- I've purchased BattleTech from a 3D printer, and you know how much BattleTech I have. I have tons
Oh,
of mechs,
yeah. Oh, so
tons
much.
of mechs. I think an entire regiment with 2 regiments. Anyway, point is,
I wouldn't be surprised.
it definitely did not cost me $15 a miniature for that. Absolutely did not cost me $30 a miniature. $15 a miniature. So yeah,
Now,
it's yeah.
prefacing to this, of course, we are not saying that you should go grab someone's
Yes.
IP and print off all their
Sorry.
stuff or anything like that.
This
And
is all hypothetical.
yeah, but the other thing I will say is, you know, I I have less of them, especially if you want to make something custom, if you want to do something that they
Yes.
don't make, if you want to be able to, alter it and just do a very cool look, that's fine.
Well, here's the
There's
thing.
different ways
We're
to support
getting
hobbies.
we're
Cut.
getting to like one of the main talking points because the main talking point is what is the good and what is the bad, and you
Yeah,
kind of just hit the nail on the head. There are three main goods here, right? And the
yeah,
three main goods are any defunct games, like things that don't exist anymore, or games that don't
yeah.
exist anymore, can be 3D printed, right? You have
Battletech,
the
Battletech.
availability, yeah, exactly. You have the availability of options, and I didn't even mention this before, but terrain. Terrain is one of
Yep.
those things you can print, and I'll talk about my friend Luke, and it's cheap after you initially buy it. So like revival of defunct games. You have Battlefleet Gothic, right? It has been
Hmm.
dead for God. I played that when I was in middle school, so I'm what 30-ish now. So Jesus Christ, look, talking 15 plus years, right?
Yeah,
No, the middle
easily.
school's 12. So yeah, 50. You get my point. 15 plus years
Yeah.
ago. And you can now play the game again because instead of buying, so give you an example, a metal battle barge, which was the most unbalanced, put that in the sock and kill someone, but a metal battle barge on eBay, right? Let me
Yeah.
get eBay up real quick because this is actually one of the things I like to search because I'd like to see if but yeah, you want to get an actual Battlefleet Gothic ship because you love the ships, you love the lore, you want to play the game, right? So an actual Battlefleet Gothic.
Oh, you don't like
I'm
what you
sorry.
saw.
Oh, okay. So let's say you want to get an Emperor class battleship, Dave. Now don't cheat.
Yeah.
Right? This is a battleship, so it's a 1,500 point game. So sometimes you take battleships, sometimes you take cruisers, but a battleship is your kind of your main flagship, right? And the Emperor class is customizable. You can make it into 6 different other classes. But here, an Emperor class battleship. How much do you think they're selling it for on eBay? And this is the
Um,
average price, by the way.
so what? Well, so
It
that's
is. It is
listed price or sold price?
oh, I didn't even look at sold price. I'm
Yeah,
here.
look at sold. Sold is
Where's
always the
that
more
sold
interesting
items?
thing. Yeah, because that tells you what. Because here's the thing,
um,
I could list whatever the hell I want for some
true. Okay.
obscene amount of money. Doesn't mean anyone's going to buy it. But
Oh,
did,
okay.
did,
It
I think
got
you got a good
worse.
example in
So it
sold.
got worse. It got worse.
That's great.
Um,
All right, so I'm thinking of a
uh,
battleship. So how many?
so let's not even look at let's not even look at a
Okay,
battleship then, because that's 3D printed. So let me see because let me see. Okay, Oh my god. Okay, so here we go. Oh my god, this was sold. All right, so you have a Necron fleet, Dave, right?
Yep.
Okay, Dave. We're not even talking battleship. We're not talking battleship. I'm talking I don't know what any of their names are, so bear with me. The skinny looking croissant ships, the one with like the long skinny tail. I don't know what those are called.
So depending on length, those are, is it the
They look like cruisers. They're heavy cruisers or cruisers.
the long ones are they're harvesters.
Okay, so you got 3 harvesters. You
Yep.
have the double croissant ship. So this is the one with the double croissant wings and then the croissant in the front.
Okay. So that's either a shroud or there's two different types, so it might be
So
a
you
shroud.
have 3 of the harvesters, 1 of the shroud, and then you have 3 of the frigates, but they're the bigger frigates, and then you have
Jackals.
8 of the small jackals, and you have 8 of the smaller frigates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sturges.
How much you think? Sold.
Oh God.
Let's say you're getting into the hobby, you love your Necrons, you want to start a Necron fleet, and you see this basically a starter fleet, right? Beautiful starter fleet, all the stuff you need, right? How much do you think it sold for? And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 and 8, 15 ships. 15 ships. How much do you think it sold for?
What? So, I will say what I think it should sell for. I think something like that. I would think, okay, it's all old, out of defunct. The amount of ships. I would put it a little above 100 range for what I think it sold for. I bet it was twice that.
It was 255.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Would that would definitely be more than an army. That's an army.
Oh no, I'll put it this way because I remember the prices of these ships. Harvesters were in packs of $12.
Oh
yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my next thing because I didn't play the game when it was out. So I have no perception of the cost. I'm sure they were insane.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna see if I can find a battleship though. Oh. $140. Oh.
Ooh,
for a battleship. Yep, sold.
Oh my god. I'm actually looking now. Chaos is spoiler for $80.
Yeah, no, that's insane. No. So this again proves the point where like even like look at they sold $14 for the midget little Tyranid drones. Christ. Okay, so going back to what we were saying, if you have a dead game like Battlefleet Gothic and you want to revive it in your store, or hell, you just want the ships because they look awesome. Let's be honest. You can revive it using 3D printing. There are people specific. Now I can actually say specifics. There are people like Soulforge Studios. Soulforge Studios is a company, or not really a company. It's 2 dudes who spend their time literally producing ship STL designs for Battlefleet Gothic. Or sorry, in the likeness of Battlefleet Gothic. Let me rephrase that. They produce it in the likeness of Battlefleet Gothic. And they look very cool. And then you have places like Vanguard Games, which are also, they're not 3D printed, but they have nice resin printers, resin 3D printers that can print the ships for you. And so these defunct games can all of Epic. I love Epic. Playing Warhammer 40,000, but with like a entire regiment of people is hilarious and fun. But you think those prices are bad, Dave? You should see like some of the Epic prices for like, so let me see, sold Epic 40,000. If I look up, it's called Epic Armageddon or Epic 40,000, right? So if I type in Epic 40,000 over here, all right, and I look at only sold, right? Where's that sold? I'm looking at it. Let me see. Oh, why? $93 for 2 Warhounds.
Oh.
Wait. $93 for 2 resin Epic assembled Warhammers or Warhounds, right? How much are 2 Warhounds nowadays? If you want to buy them?
In like what scale though?
In Titanicus.
A pair of them are what, $50?
Yeah,
I think I want to say it's about 50. Yeah.
Yeah, this is insanity. $26 for a 6mm Valkyrie. $26, Dave. $26 with $6 shipping. So he bought a 6mm Valkyrie. 6mm Valkyrie for the same price as a Space Marine captain.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And what I'll say about all of that is because there's always that concern of like, part part of the discussion always has to be, is it helping or hurting the hobby? If
Yeah.
if your game doesn't even exist anymore, you as a company are making no money off of it. This
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely helps your hobby. If GW came back tomorrow and said, "Hey, Battlefleet Gothic, it's a thing again. Let's do this." And now there's some people who had 3D printed stuff and they'll never buy it, and that's just always true. But you'd have a lot of people who are interested because they're able to get it and try it out and play it. I'm one of those people.
So, and
You
using
know?
that, allow me to even, so I mentioned BattleTech before, right?
Yeah.
BattleTech models have have the notion of just being ugly as hell, right?
Oh, they are
They're
ugly.
old, yeah, they are old, ugly 80s models. Now, they've recently gotten a redesign. I don't know if you've seen a lot of the redesigns from the BattleTech.
No, I don't think I have.
They've gotten a huge redesign, right? Where they look much, much, much more modern, right? And
Is
the
it like
reasoning behind
sleeker
this,
edges,
oh,
or
I'm
what
gonna
makes
on
them look
Discord
more
right now.
modern?
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
gonna show you right now. Here, I'm
throw
gonna give you a
something in
little Google
Discord so I
image.
can see what you
Yeah,
mean.
I got you. I got you a little Google image. So
All right.
take a look at that. So, and you know what the catapult is. You know what the Marauder looks like with the skinny
Yeah.
legs, right? But now look at what they look like. And the reasoning behind this is twofold. One, PGI redesigned the mechs to look more modern for their video game, and BattleTech realized, or the people who run BattleTech, right, realized that people were 3D printing those video game files, right? They were taking the
Yeah.
video game files of the models, the mechs, and 3D printing them. So they had a choice: ban it and fight tooth and nail in lawsuit, or redesign your mechs in not the same way that PGI had it, but in your own way. And that's what they
Mm.
did. So these mechs here, you can even see like, anyway, yeah, I sent you the Google image, but you
Yeah,
can
yeah. I'm
see
taking
like
a
what
look
the
at them.
commander looks like, the Raven looks like, and it's just they look so much better,
I
right?
really do.
And
They,
and yeah, this, but
yeah, they have. They actually look. When I looked at old BattleTech, I never believed any of them could actually be like an actual giant armored moving thing. A lot of times they had very, very thin waists and just weirdly proportioned. Like they don't look like they would work. When you look at these actually do look, like, you think of some video game or anything like that you play. It looks like these things could be stomping down the field.
exactly.
You can envision
Oh,
it actually
exactly.
occurring.
It's just it, and that was pushed from the 3D printer. They said we can either whine and complain and try to lawsuit all these guys and try to shut them all down, or
And you never.
we can redesign our mechs, not the way they're doing it, but redesign our mechs so that they're distinct in our own ways, right? And
Mm,
that's what they did. And they had a Kickstarter recently, right? They had the double Kickstarter, and it went nuts. That
okay.
Kickstarter got funded in, I think, less than an hour. It
Oh
went
wow.
insane. And yeah, it's just that's a company that embraced 3D printing. They were like, hey, everyone else is doing it. I say, you know what? I like how these people are redesigning it. Let's take some of their ideas and actually copyright it and make it our own. Boom.
So
So I
are
mean,
they just
it's
selling miniatures, or are they selling 3D files?
showing the miniatures. And again,
Okay.
the miniatures are not exact copies of the video games. So that you could
Okay.
still download the video game files and print the video game version of the mech.
Okay.
But the fun part is their version of the mech, right? The updated version of their original mech still looks good. So
Yes.
why? So the idea is, why would I go to someone, get a 3D printer, ask them to have a 3D printer, pay this person, pay for the shipping, pay, and hopefully he does a good 3D printing job, or I have the stress of all this, right? Of me setting
Mm,
up the 3D printer, me cleaning the 3D printer, me doing all this. Why not just buy the new cooler model that looks almost exactly like the model I was going to print in the first place? Boom.
yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Why am I going to spend the time, money, and effort to 3D print a model when they have now updated the model to look just as cool as the model I'm about to print? That,
Yeah, so
that's what it comes down to.
I wouldn't necessarily say then that they've embraced it. I would say they found a good a good option to counter it in a um in sort of a customer positive way. Because they said they
Okay.
could have said
Yeah.
no and ran after everyone. They could do a chapter like what GW tried to
Yeah.
do, chapter house.
Chapter House. Yep.
or they could say, hey, you know what? Yeah, 3D print that stuff if you want, but we got these cool looking models over here. Either way, we'll sell you a book.
And
Uh,
I just want to point out, by the way,
mm,
I know embrace is the wrong word, but as a side token, they do embrace 3D printed terrain. So they don't produce the
okay,
terrain.
good.
They don't produce terrain at all, right? They produce
Yeah.
models. But on their not on their website, but usually on the forums and the stuff, and sometimes they'll put
Mm,
pictures. Their pictures will show 3D printed buildings from companies that do like Hextech. Hextech does
yeah.
3D printed Baltic terrain. They'll post pictures on their mats with Hextech terrain.
Mm.
So yeah, it's like it's not they're embracing it, but they're like, hey, listen, you have a 3D printer, we know you're using it. Why not instead of printing our models, buy our really cool models that we actually spent time redesigning
Yeah.
and use your 3D printer for this cool terrain. And I like that. That's a company saying, hey, listen, don't print our stuff. We're redesigning it for you, and it looks exactly like the printed stuff. So we're saving you the effort. Why don't you print some terrain? Right? I like that, but that's good. That's a good date. That's great.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I agree. I think that it's a good take to have because let's face it, it when you think about something like this and you say, does it hurt a particular miniature manufacturer? And there's always a yes and no to that. Part
Yes.
of part of the no to that is if I'm a person who in my mind I own a 3D printer and I'm not buying shit and I'm just going to 3D print everything, I don't care what you come out with. I don't care what it looks like. I'm just going to print all my stuff anyway.
Exactly.
And those are people who were never going to be your customers. It's the
You're
same.
not losing something.
No, it's the same reason I strongly support like Tabletop Simulator and things like that for games. And I absolutely pay for some mods and stuff like that. Me playing on there has gotten me to actually buy certain games. And it given me a vehicle to get other people interested in playing these certain games because we can go online and we can play it and say, hey, you know what?
Exactly.
Yes, there's a lot of fun. Hey, we are having fun. Let's go buy this. Um,
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
does it hurt some major stuff? Yeah, because there's definitely a segment of people who are not buying certain amounts or buying less because they can print stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's really that many.
So
Honestly, I really don't.
so I'm going to mention Games Workshop. So Games Workshop
Yeah,
is in a weird spot because Games Workshop does produce terrain and it does produce
they do.
miniatures. And they recently released their whole entire, what is allowed in the store, right? Which,
Mm.
by the way, again, people reacted to this, and I'm sitting there like this is not shocking because they said stuff like, "Do not bring 3D printed stuff into our Games Workshop. Do not bring
No,
third
of course
party
not.
things
That's
into."
crazy.
And people reacted to this, and I'm like, "It's a fucking Games Workshop. I'm not going to
Yeah.
bring McDonald's into a Wendy's and have them not give me a bad look. Like you're being an ass." That's like, come on. Again, there are things
Yeah,
to
just
blame
just
Games
apply
Workshop for. It's not one
logic.
of them.
Yeah.
Yes, please. But anyway, let me. So Games Workshop does produce terrain. Um, but what's ironic is Frontline Gaming is one of the lead
Mhm.
kind of tournament organizers of Games Workshop, right? They do
Absolutely.
the LVO. LVO
Yeah.
is that what?
Yep. Yeah,
Not
they
no,
do the
yeah,
Las
LVO.
Vegas
They do the LVO.
Open.
Yep.
They have a
So
variety of them now.
they're big boys.
Oh yeah.
They 3D print terrain for their events. Games work that not now it's not Games Workshop terrain. It looks completely different.
Mhm.
Um, it's like more modern sci-fi terrain-ish, or sometimes there's
Okay.
jungle terrain. But the point I'm trying to make is they 3D print terrain, and GW just kind of doesn't care.
No.
They don't. They don't. What's the word I'm looking for? They don't say anything bad about it because they're not printing their terrain. They're not
No.
printing Omnissiah terrain or Mechanicus terrain. They're printing their own designed terrain for GW's game. And it's at a
Yeah.
tournament that's not at the Games Workshop, so you're fine, and no one's going to be angry there.
I think
Um,
that's the big thing too, because it's not actually at
yeah,
their
and
store.
that's
I understand.
exactly.
At their store, their
Yeah,
goal is to sell everything that's in there. If there's a piece of
exactly.
if there's a piece of terrain that I can't buy in there, I say, oh, you know what, that piece that looks real good. Oh, let me tell you where the file is. Let me do this other thing. That's a sale out of their pocket. In their own stores,
Exactly.
I understand why they do their stuff.
Yeah, that's it in there. That's it. Um, but yeah, no. So it's again, I don't. So maybe not the word embrace is the wrong word, but it's almost more like an acceptance and try to move
I
around,
think
not
that's a good way
around
to
it,
put it.
but
Yeah.
like an acceptance because it's gonna happen. And the company, I think Games Workshop learned their lesson from Chapter House.
Mhm.
It was bad. It was a bad look for them.
Yep.
It was bad press for them. Although, again, is ever such a thing as bad press? But it
Mm.
was a bad look for them. And Chapter House won. Chapter House won.
So,
This is also when
to an
they
extent,
sued, I
yeah.
believe. Yeah. Well, yes, Chapter House still shut down because of the legal fees, but they
Yeah.
still won technically because they didn't. It was not. The court said no. This is not copywritten. It's
Well, so
different enough that it's not copywritten.
it depends on which. So some of the things they said
Oh yeah,
were,
true.
some they did not. So like
Yeah,
a Space Marine Power Fist, they said is not copyrightable because it is too generic. But some
exactly.
other things they said were. I forget the exact details because now that case
I'm
is
trying to. Yeah,
quite a
it
while
was so
ago.
old ago.
Yeah.
But again, and I think this is also around the time when Games Workers tried to sue Spots the Space Marine, the book. Remember
Yep.
that whole debate? And so I think they learned their valuable lesson of you got to pick and choose your battles. And 3D printing is a definite pick and choose your battle because people are going to 3D. You can't jump into people's homes and
No.
get their 3D printer from them. They're going to come with
No.
3D printed things, which, and this is me, conspiracy theory put on the tinfoil hat time. I think this is also what's kind of not funding, but igniting GW's fire under their ass to like produce these models. Because
Could
I
be.
don't know, there's like almost a renaissance of GW modeling right now, where the models coming out are just absolutely fantastic. Most of them, at least. But we haven't had this level of releases or this level of new models in a very long time. Eldar
They,
players insert their crying meme here. Um, Poor Eldar
they,
players with their 25-year-old models.
They've done it a few ways. One of the things that, because let's remember GW of long in the past, there's a few things they did. One, here's your codex. Oh yeah, those that character, yeah, we don't got a model for that guy. This thing, yeah, we don't have a model for that. That's fine. Also, hey, in 3 months, here's the stuff that's coming out. We're gonna have this book.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll get to it. What do they do now? Nothing is in any book that doesn't have a model, active model, I should even say. It's not even they have an old model. Do they have a model they're currently producing? If not, it doesn't go in, and you find out essentially mostly what's coming out about 2 weeks ahead. So you don't get that lead
Yep.
time of, hey, here's this thing, let me go model it up, let me go print some stuff out. They've tried to make it where you're not going to necessarily 3D print their models because you don't have time before it's already like on your doorstep and we've produced everything that you need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree.
You know.
Now, despite all these good things about 3D printers, we should point out
Oh yeah.
there are bad, right?
Very big.
There are bad things about 3D printing.
Mhm.
I mean, you already mentioned one of them, which is the large upfront cost, right?
Yes.
Now, some 3D printers are sub 500. The medium, so the I was thinking about like a metaphor, right? To kind of did, and
Yeah.
it's like, all right, the used car printers are sub 500. The
Yeah.
Hondas, which are in normal cars, they get you from point A to point B, and they work, and they're not going to break down on you, are $500 to $700.
Hmm.
The Mercedes, those can get insane. So, like I said before, there's this one dude on Facebook printing a goddamn Warburger Titan 28 millimeter.
Yep.
Which, if
Those
for
are
the those that
nuts.
don't know, search up Warlord Titan and then almost double the size. Absolute insanity. Um, but he's using like a $4,000 printer. Now, this goes back to the good. A Warlord costs $2,000.
Yeah.
A Warbringer, which is twice the size, by all reason, is going to cost $4,000, right? So him printing the Warbringer is already like is already cutting him even. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
the way you're supposed to say it. It's already
Break even.
even for him. It's
Yes.
already
He
breaking even
theoretically
because he's
break
printing a
even.
model. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's printing a model that is already double the size of a model that costs $2,000. So boom, there you go. But that large upfront cost does suck. Now, I know a lot of people to kind of combat this tax season. They wait for their taxes and then buy it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the bads. And I mean, you got another one, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's all right. So the other one is it's sort of just a time commitment. So if now theoretically tomorrow I might go into the store, but if I decide to go in and there's something there that I want, I can get it essentially immediately. Whereas assuming it's okay to print whatever it is that I find. Let's make that assumption. But if so,
Mhm.
printing wise, depending on what I'm printing, failure rates, when you consider that kind of stuff, it might actually take quite a bit of time. When we print some of the terrain, some of this terrain, we let it run overnight. And we're talking about 10 or 12 hours or more to print the terrain
Absolutely.
pieces. So
So
it's,
this is where I mentioned. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead.
No, 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 go ahead. Go ahead.
So it's just the amount of time that you might be putting into this. It is giving you options, and after that initial cost, it can absolutely save you money. Like I will fully support 100% people who print any form of terrain. All of these games need terrain. Some of it is produced. Don't get me wrong. There's some terrain stuff out there. GW makes some terrain. Some other people do as well. There's some good producers for some Star Wars style terrain, but a lot of that terrain is one, both very expensive. Two, you can usually find people who've just made better looking things.
Mhm.
And so if you can print it after that initial cost, you can make a whole lot of very good terrain for a lot less money than you'd spend, as long as you're willing to run your printer
The printer.
constantly for
I mean,
so long.
the joke I was going to say was you mentioned every
Yeah.
game needs terrain, and I started laughing and
I
said
do.
War Machine. Um,
That's true. Well, War Machine, you could technically play with terrain. No one does though,
yeah,
because
I
as soon
know,
as you
I
got to
know.
put something's big base on it, then you get rid of it. Although I will say, as another game, I do play Song of Ice and Fire, the miniatures game, and the terrain
That
we
has flat
usually
terrain,
use for
yeah.
that. You can do non-flat, but again, it's a kind of thing of you got a whole brick of you got
Yeah, we have
a
a reg
square
tray.
tray,
We have a reg
and
tray. Yeah.
then it's going over that. Like it's
So,
problematic.
we have a friend Luke who has
Mhm.
been printing terrain for both Maplewood and for both Mythicos, right?
Yeah.
And to give you an idea of time frame, he's printed pretty much 6 or 7 tables worth of terrain for Mythicos already. He started
That's a
printing in
lot.
May. He started printing in May.
Oh, wow.
That's how long it takes. Because I mean, he also printed a terrain set for John, the Mushroom Kingdom. That beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah,
It looks
it's
amazing.
good looking.
But you have to think about it this way: if you're playing a 40K game, I'll use 40K as an example. You're playing a 40K game. You need a terrain piece in the middle that's large enough to block line of sight. You
Mhm.
need 4 to 6 buildings along the edges to hide in and block line of sight.
Yep.
Uh, and then you need 2 more buildings or 2 more forests or craters or basically anything to provide cover, right? And then
Yeah.
this is not including also drop terrain or what is it called? Not drop terrain.
Scatter.
Like scatter terrain. Thank you.
Scatter terrain.
Yeah, it's scatter terrain. That's 1 table worth of terrain. All right.
It's supposed to be what?
Um,
If you put it in one corner, isn't it supposed to be like a quarter of the
or
board?
it's actually even more now because
Oh,
remember,
okay.
so in 40K, like it's no longer it's true line of sight when you're in a building, but if you're on the
Okay.
one side of the building and you're on the other side of the building, I can't see through. Period. I don't care if it
Okay.
could be an entire wallless first floor with all these windows, but if I'm one building at the side of the building and you're on the other side, not touching the building,
Mhm.
it's basically there's so much terrain, so much smoke in the building that we cannot see through to shoot each other. So that's
Got
why
it.
it's line of sight blocking. So it before last edition is, oh, I can see you through the window. I'm shooting you. Now it's I'm on
Mm.
one side of the building, you're on the other side. I am blocked until you get around the footprint of that building.
Okay. I
So
like that
that
better. I
yeah,
really
no,
do.
it's a lot better. That please, they that was such a good change. But that's what that takes time to print. That takes a lot of time to print. And of course, we haven't even talked about the worst thing. So, okay, so a large upfront cost, sure, use your tax dollars. Time to print, whatever. We're in COVID, we're in quarantine, you have tons of
You got
time. You
time.
probably, how many times can you make soda bread? You know what I mean? Or wait, what was that? Was it soda bread was the joke?
Oh, it's
Were
just
people
bread in
baking?
general. No, they
It
were
was
doing like
bread, right?
sourdough.
Okay,
Sourdough was the big
sourdough,
thing.
that's what it was. That was you're making done enough sourdough. Now here's the big problem. So I got a 2-year-old in the house, right?
Yeah.
I spray paint outside whenever possible. Well, not whenever possible, all the time. I'm sorry, that's true. I spray paint outside, period. I don't own an airbrush, right? Because I don't have a hood to suck out airs. I spray paint outside, I seal outside. If it's raining or humid, well, it's too bad I don't get to do it that day, right?
Yeah.
I glue downstairs, but I usually keep a fan window open because glue usually doesn't. So
Mhm.
here's the problem, and me and Dave were talking about this before the show. Um, the big problem is toxicity.
Oh yeah.
These 3D printers are toxic
Yeah. Do not
because of
touch the
the
liquid resin.
Do not what you have to. I wasn't
Oh,
even not even touching the liquid resin. I was just the dust, right? When
yeah.
you buy Forge World models or you buy any resin model and you're drilling the model, and what do they tell you to do? Wear a goddamn mask. 'Cause that's going to go straight into your lungs, right?
Yep.
Um, now take that and run a resin printer for 12 hours. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
I don't care what type of hood you have. I don't care what type of vacuuming system you have. A hood, by the way, for those that know, it's basically a vacuum for the top of the 3D printer. It sucks up air. Um, I don't care. That's still gonna release toxins. That's gonna release powder into the air. And I didn't even, you know what? I didn't even know about the resin liquid. What's the problem with the resin liquid?
So it's just resin in general. You don't want to touch resin. You don't want it on your skin and stuff like that. If you start touching it a
Oh,
bit, you'll essentially because it can soak into your skin, and it is essentially a toxic material. It absolutely is, especially in its
you
liquid form.
say
Yeah, you don't want to
you
touch
say
that
as
stuff.
I stare at you say as I stare at my Forge World Army and
Well,
in the
so but let's keep in
there's
mind
a
the
joke, yeah.
liquid is yeah the
Yeah,
liquid is
liquid, yeah, I know.
once it is cured, it is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Again, I would now you can clip stuff, that's fine. If you were sanding this stuff, yeah, wear a mask, go outside to do it. But if you're clipping it, it's not a problem. But when it's liquid, yeah, you don't want to be touching that stuff.
Yeah. It's just and it is toxic, and you have to again you have to balance it. So like I have a kid at home, so I will never own a 3D printer just for that
Yeah.
that reason. I mean, I also have the dog and the cats, and they're they get affected by things as well, and I have asthma, so just literally a whole slew of no. But even if you're a person in the house, maybe the 3D printer's in the garage, right? You can open up the garage when you 3D print, but you got to still close that garage at night and
Yeah.
you turn on the hood, you're running that hood 12 hours. Hopefully, the hood doesn't shut down in the middle, right? You're
Yeah.
still in an enclosed area. Unless you're running that 3D printer outside, you're in an enclosed area. And you're not going to be just take a vacuum cleaner and try to suck up litter. You're not going to get all the litter, right?
Yeah.
Some is going to go in the air, some is going to go around. And you got to balance it. Like these big 3D companies, right? That print 3D,
Mhm.
they have 3D printers running constantly. Where do they have them? In the back room with like 16 vents going. I swear to God. Actually, I'll put it this way. It reminds me of the gun range I work at. You know,
Mhm.
you're shooting guns, it's going to release lead into the air. What do we have? Massive, massive vents with 3 or 4 different filters to talk to collect all the lead particles in the
Yeah.
air. And even then, right? We still go for lead. I don't know if you know this. We still go for lead testing.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
So I don't work as an RSO, which is the range safety officer. Those are the guys that are on the range. But if you're an
Yeah.
RSO, you need to go for monthly lead testing. And
Mm.
we have, Dave, I'm going to say multi-million, but hundreds of thousands of dollars of just vent systems in that building, right? Those things will suck out anthrax if it needs to.
Yeah.
And they still go for monthly lead testing because you cannot get all of it. And if that's a
True.
corporation, that's a company that has that, I'm sorry, your garage is, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, and like what I would say is like if you have an FDM, that's fine. That's not a problem. It's more of the ones that work with resins and stuff like that. Those are the ones where you definitely have potential concerns of fumes and all. That's the kind of thing where yeah, if I did it, I would want to have a garage. I mean, I have a basement. I wouldn't do it in the basement, honestly. And I do have a hood. I have a whole I have a air brushing station, all that kind of stuff set up in my basement in the back part where I do my hobby stuff. But no, would I put a printer down there? Me personally, no. But part of it, I don't think I'd use it enough. I don't think I have enough stuff in mind where I want to print it. Slash, I have other people who can do it. But yeah, I mean, toxicity is definitely, I think, something you have to take a big consideration of.
Yeah. Now I know we mentioned this before, and it
Mhm.
kind of is split, but we were talking about how it is for the hobby, right? We kind of jumped
Yeah.
on this one. And there's kind of like 2 facets to the hobby. There's the game store and the
Hmm.
game company, right?
Yep.
So, and I mean, we kind of hit it where it's like it's both good and I hate. God, as a teacher, I hate when people sit on the fence. God, I hate it. I
Yeah.
say just take a stance and go. But as much as I hate it, this is one of those cases, very rare cases where it is good and it is bad, like a game store.
Hmm.
The game store, the goodness is you can print terrain for cheap. You can have like
Yeah.
6 tables worth of freaking nice terrain. I mean, I wish I could this is a podcast, so I wish I could show pictures while I'm talking. But my friend Luke printed this Mushroom Kingdom terrain for our friend who plays what does he play? Not Noblars.
Gloomspire
What are they
gets.
called? Gloomspire Gits, which are basically
Yep.
little. Man, I'm like losing my
It's all
fantasy
the
terms here.
it's goblin.
Goblins. Yeah.
It's goblins and trolls essentially.
Yes, with mushroom theme. And so he
Yeah.
printed him like a mushroom forest terrain. It looks fantastically hilarious. It's great.
It really does.
And like the terrain you can print again, you could print fantasy terrain, sci-fi terrain, spaceship terrain. You can go nuts. And that's great for a game store because you can 3D print the terrain and then be like, hey, listen, you can buy a 3D printer or we sell this terrain that you can build yourself. It gives you like ability to maneuver. But then the problem becomes if someone brings in this, 3D printed army. Now, you can have the person that has the 3D printed army that is interesting to look at. But then you have people who have like some models are 3D printed and you would never know the difference. So it could steal money away from the store. But here's the thing. No one sells Battlefield Gothic.
Nope.
No one sells Epic. And from what I've seen, no one prints Space Marines. Like what I'll see is like a really good character for the Space Marines in 3D print in resin. Or I'll see a really good like Titan pieces. Not even a Titan, but just the bits for a Titan. Or I'll see some really cool bits. I bought 3D printed Power Fists for my Custodes that look like Custodes Power Fists. But I don't know. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. But I've been at Mythicos and I've been at Maplewood and I've been at what is the one down by Rutgers? Toget? One with across the Cuban restaurant.
Toget's near Somerset.
Somerset, yeah, that's close enough to
Toget.
Rutgers. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've never seen a fully 3D printed army, and the 1 or 2 times I have, they just look so bad.
So I have seen some, not many, and not gonna obviously name any names or anything like that.
Yeah.
I have seen some. They've never looked good. I think they've always looked kind of bad in general. The general rule of thumb I go with, and it's kind of the general rule of thumb that our store goes with. It's the same thing if you find, prints of things if you get them in store, out of store. If we sell it, don't print it.
Exactly. I agree.
Anything else is fine. And if it's a miniature game that like they don't have, they don't care. That's fine. But where it becomes a problem, or even if you print a little bit, otherwise, most people don't care. Where it becomes a problem is when you start telling people, "Oh yeah, don't buy that stuff here. Yeah, here, let me show you the files. Let me show you how to print all this stuff. Don't buy anything in the store." Like, no, you gotta buy stuff. Stores only stay open because you buy things.
And let's be honest, no one likes those people in the first place. Please don't be that person. Don't be that person. Please.
If that's the case, play in your basement. Play with your friends there. That's fine. But if you're gonna go to a store, think about the space that takes up a table in a store, and think about how they're not selling a product there, and the fact that you are taking up literal product space.
Yep.
If you're not buying stuff, the store's gonna close.
Yep. And then the game company, we mentioned this as well. Yep. The game companies, I find, again, it's good. God, I hate sitting in the fence. It's good and bad. The good for a game company is that, like, forget Battlefield Gothic. I think you mentioned it, where they don't produce that game anymore. They're making zero money off of it, but it gets people interested in Battlefield Gothic, and then they might get interested in Warhammer 40,000.
Absolutely, it's a gateway. Even if not,
it's a gateway drug.
If GW came out tomorrow and said, "Hey, guess what? Battlefield Gothic is back." Would I buy the models? Yeah, I'd buy some models. Even though I have a bunch of stuff printed, I would buy some models because one, I'd want to support it. Yeah, I would want to support the game. Army. Oh yeah, because you got to support it, as well as they're probably going to look really good. Most miniature companies make good models. We can talk another time about some ugly ones. There's some ugly ones out there, but most miniature companies make good models.
I have 3 in my head right now. Oh, BattleTech, like I said, the redesigns look amazing, but they're old models. Oh my Lord, have mercy. They're old metal models.
The problem with them was the design. They were ugly to start with. They weren't ugly prints, where when you think of someone like Mantic, their stuff has gotten better, but earlier Mantic stuff was just bad
Oh, I've seen,
because it
man. That
just
was
was
another company.
bad.
That was my
Yeah,
second one, by the way. I'd like to point
exactly.
out.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
But yeah,
I
that's
knew.
and the good news is it also pushes companies. It pushes them. It does.
Yes.
It's competition. It's almost. I don't want to say it's like free market competition because it has nothing to do with the free market, but it is almost a push to them. It's a challenge. Again, BattleTech had to remodel their miniatures. They knew people were 3D printing. They were taking the video game files from PGI, which is the video game company that does MechWarrior. They were taking those video game files and scanning them and 3D printing them, right?
Yeah. It's
They
it's
don't sell those
capitalism.
models. Yeah, they don't sell those models. And whether or not that's legal or not is a completely different issue, but they don't sell those models. So the people who do BattleTech, Catalyst Games, was like, all right, our models are a little outdated. Why not take something like the Atlas? You know what the original Atlas looked like.
Yep.
All right, he looks like
Pile
a
of
skinny
garbage.
piece, a pile of garbage. He looks skinny. All right, let's look at the PGI model, which they're taking and printing out. Let's take that, use that as a base, and put our old fluff into, because a lot of the models that they redesigned still have that old, not goofiness, but still have that old fling. Like the Battlemaster has a gun in his hand, right? The one in the Mech Warrior game does not. It has a cannon
Yeah.
in the arm. The original model has a gun. So they took the Battlemaster, still kept the gun on his hand, but absolutely modernized the look. So it doesn't look like just a pile of trash, is originally what it looked like. It was awful. You know what I mean?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but
Does
then, of
the
course, you got into the bad. Oh,
does the
sorry. Go ahead.
new Atlas still have that dumb little helmety looking
Skull.
yeah, little
Let me see.
skull to him?
Hold on.
Or does it at least look better? That I thought was
Oh no, it
actually
looks
usually
better.
the
So
worst part.
here's the old Atlas. Here, hold on. I got you. I got you,
Yeah.
bro. Hold on. Hold on.
Yeah.
Watch this.
Put it in the server. I'll take a
Atlas.
look.
I got you. I got you. So here is. Oh god. Ugh. All right. So, god damn it. All right. I don't want to be mean. I don't. But Jesus Christ. All right. So here's the old Atlas.
All
Okay.
right. Let me take a look at this
Take a look
thing.
at that.
I'll try to post
Take
some
a look at
things
that.
in notes for some people.
Yeah.
I'll put some links in.
Take
Oh
a
yeah,
look at
that
that.
guy's so he's got big shoulders, like way too big of shoulders for his tiny little arms. I don't think now this is angled. I don't
Yeah.
know if the top of his head really comes much above his shoulders. It's like
It
he's
does
got
not. No.
pauldrons,
Yeah.
rounded pauldrons.
Now, are you ready? Okay, so now here's the other thing I should point out. The big problem also was size with the old
Yeah.
PGI was size. Because that size of the model, so that's a 100-ton mech, for example. That model was the same size as a 20-ton mech, the Locust. Why? Why? That makes zero sense. So now so let me give you this. So here's the PGI model. All
Okay.
right. So I'll just give you like someone. So this is a 3D print actually. All right.
Okay.
Because remember, they don't have that. So here's a 3D print of it. So you see,
All right.
so you have the comparison. So there's the 3D print of it.
All right. I
Much more
definitely do
modern.
like that more.
Yes. Sloped armor. Right. So it's not, again, modern. And
Yes.
now here's what they came up with. So this is from the Kickstarter. So bear with me here. Because
All right.
I don't have a picture of the actual model because, Lord have mercy.
Yeah. Not there
Let's see
yet.
here.
That's
Oh,
all right.
a really bad picture though, but it'll still give you an idea.
That's all
So
right.
click on that. He's in the back.
All right.
He's in
Can't
the
be worse
back.
than that. All right. Um, he definitely. So this is the new one that I'm looking at
Yes,
here. He's definitely better. He definitely much more resembles the old model in terms of look and style
exactly.
than the PGI
Yep.
one. But I do like it. I do think they rounded the shoulders a little bit more. They made the arms have more heft to them, so they don't look
The
honestly quite
legs.
as ridiculous. And his center torso is built out more, so he actually
Yeah.
looks proportional. He doesn't
And the
have like
legs are thicker
yeah, doesn't need that
and the
hourglass
size.
figure.
And the size is the biggest thing right there. He is
Yeah,
a tall boy. You put him
yeah,
next to like an actual this from the Kickstarter, obviously. You put him next to an actual model and it's a big boy. He's a thick one, right?
yeah.
And so that's the thing. Like you look at, I mean, there's so many. Oh, here's a good. Okay, so I'll do this one more time because this is actually kind of fun.
All right.
So just one more time. So watch this. So
I'll make sure I
I'm gonna
put some of these in show notes or something like that to point
yeah,
people.
exactly.
There's nothing better
Yeah.
than on a podcast listening to people talk about things that you can't see.
I know. So okay.
All right.
So here is okay, I got it. So here's this. Oh my god.
So while you put it up, what I'll mention is the one we were just looking at. It was the miniatures force pack for BattleTech. It's the Inner Sphere direct
Yeah.
fire lance, and he's the
Yes. That's
miniature
their
in the back
Kickstarter.
on
That was their.
battles. Yeah,
So are you ready for this? This is the King
I am
Crabs. This
ready.
is one of my favorite mechs of all time.
I love the king crab.
However, I hate it. Oh, so you know what the King Crab looks like then?
Oh, I know what he
So
looks like.
here's what it originally looked like. You ready?
Yeah, he's ugly, and I'm
That.
kind of okay with that. Let's see.
No,
No, I'm not
that was the
okay with that. I'm not okay with that.
I love it.
Okay, so for that one, for anyone following along, again, I'll try to post this up. This is from the old Ral Partha. It's the old Ral Partha model,
The original
which
King Crab. Yeah.
essentially he's a disc on legs.
So this is the one you know. This is the video game one.
Yeah.
This is the one from the video game. And so again, they took both, right? They took both. Let me see here. BattleTech, King Crab, and Kickstarter. So they took both, right?
Mhm.
And they essentially, let's see if I get a good I'm on shopping, that's why. Oh yeah, look at that. That's what a King Crab's supposed to. Now, this is again, I don't have an actual picture of it because people are just getting their Kickstarters now.
Yeah, so
So
it's a
sadly,
render and stuff like that. That's fine.
this is actually a drawing. Sad. Let me see. Yeah, this is a draw.
Okay.
Oh no. Here we go. I can give you a drawing and I can give you a render. But the drawing looks a little better. But and the render came out, and the model did come out looking like this. But take a look at this. This is that's how it should have been. And then I'll give you the other one too. Hold on. This is
All
more top.
No, I agree. No, that's a good one.
Look at that.
What I also will do, the plan is to start uploading episodes to YouTube as well. When I do that for this episode, I'll make sure all the pictures are up there.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's your look at that. That's a King Crab. That is a King Crab. Right? It's still got that old goofy, kind of sloped look, that cylindrical look, right? Less modern, but it looks cool. It looks like something that's gonna shoot the hell out of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's from the Comstar command level to the renders. But again,
Yep.
if you don't enjoy playing audio, look at this. Then, like I said, the YouTube video will have the pictures. I'll make sure I put some of these in show notes so you can take a look through.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with any of these models, if you look them up, I'm sure you can find them. And
We're saying the names of them.
Often bad.
Yeah, but it's just that they did a good that. They combined the two, and I enjoy it. That's what you were supposed to do, and that's what it's 3D. I think, and I know they're not going to tell us that was because of 3D printing, obviously, but let's be honest.
It was.
They did this
Absolutely
Kickstarter that they redesigned with this Kickstarter, and they were pushed by the video games because people got interested because of the video games, and also because of Games Workshop kind of pushing people away for a little bit.
Do you know of any companies that sell, like game companies that actually sell their STL files?
No.
Neither do I.
No.
Not
Which
yet.
I think that's a good end, not an ending, but that kind of brings us. No, actually, before we get to the that, I was good because I know you wanted to ask some companies, right? So
because my
before we get to
3D
that,
printing experience is more of like what I've printed at the store. You've bought things through 3D printers, so I would through other people do it. So I'd like to make sure they get mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. But I do want you to talk about this because I don't have a hood in my. I don't have a hood in my house. I don't have an airbrush. I don't know how to. So how does one get started? Because that's something that might people do. They listen to this like, all right, this sounds like how the hell do you get started?
All right. So if you decide you do want to do this, and obviously, what I always suggest to everyone, first start with your research. Research exactly what you want. Set a clear goal in your mind. Or if your goal is to make models as opposed to terrain, you're looking at 100% different printers. If your goal is to make a model and you don't really care what it's for, I'm making some models for my D&D. I'm making some models for this, that, other thing. You can go with a nice, real cheap printer. Like I said, you can get that Anycubic, like the Mono, for under sub $200 right now because they're running a sale. That'll print you just fine.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. You can make some models for like I said, for your D&D for some extra little bits. But if you're actually wanting to get something quality, start with what you actually want for something like that. I always suggest shopping around anytime you do something like this. Like I said, AnyCubic does a lot of very good work. They're the ones I have the most experience with. They get very well reviewed. They have a lot to offer and a lot of various price ranges. If you want to go cheap, you can. If you want to go very, very expensive, you absolutely can. Think about where you can do all this. Do you actually have room? Do you have space? Like I said, I have a whole airbrush setup in my basement because I have that space. My wife doesn't go down there because there's spiders in the basement, so she refuses. Um, the dog doesn't go down there because we don't let him because I don't want him messing with anything that is down there. But I have the whole backside that's set up for those. So I went on Amazon. You can look up airbrush vent hoods and stuff like that. I was able to find a good one for a fair price. It wasn't really that much. I forget exactly what I paid, but it was well sub of $100. Now if you're airbrushing like for that, then I picked up a compressor and stuff like that. But if you're doing this, yeah, you'd want a hood. You put it in there. You would just want to make sure you're very careful with making sure everything, is closed very well when you're done. Everything's cleaned up very well when you're done. If you're careful about it, honestly, you probably wouldn't have to worry much about toxicity or hazards. In reality, I'm a bit more particular about that stuff and I get concerned by that stuff. But if you were careful with it, honestly, you're going to be fine. I would make sure you have a big old garbage that sit right next to it. You want to make sure you have plenty of like isopropyl alcohol on hand, the different things you need, essentially whatever you need, have it there, have it available. And what I would say for that, if you are looking into it, if you don't really know anything about it, there are plenty of resources and places to reach out to. There's whole communities, especially online. Say if you're on Facebook or any other thing on Reddit, there's whole communities devoted to just 3D printing models. So you use your resources around. Ask people. If you're thinking, okay, you know what, I'm gonna have to do it in my basement. Yeah, I got some windows. Yeah, but I got like a kid and a dog, and and I want to make sure they don't get bothered by it. There's no smell because it might have issues, with the wife if it does. Ask the people in those groups. You have a lot of people who are experienced in this, who know more than us two knuckleheads could tell you because they have them in their house. You know, and you see what they say and take their advice. There's a lot of hobby shops now. I know ours has them. I know some others do, where there's some hobby shops who have them set up, and they don't always have them set up in the world's best conditions, but they figured out the way that it can work well for them. You can even talk to people there. So
Now, the ultimate question: if you don't want to get one in your house, how do you get access? So this is where I come in because I've bought a lot of 3D printed stuff from multiple different sources. So the biggest way you can do it, and I'm going to say the cheapest way, is if you have a friend with a 3D printer, use and abuse them. You pay them.
Oh yeah.
They'll give you a price. They're not going to. If a good friend won't gyp you, they'll give you the price.
That's true,
plus their time and way. For example, my Battlefleet ships cost, I'll give you right now, $20, which is a pretty capital ship. The amount of time it took, and the original ships were $35, and they were full metal. This is $20 is not a bad deal. So boom, that's a $20 ship. For the time, the money, and the resin he used, that's a good deal. And you can find these files. We mentioned them before, but you can find them on Thingiverse. That's more of the free one. And and that one also is the more loose one. It's kind of like, it's the Wild West kind of. You'll find good stuff and you'll find the crap stuff. Yeah, it's anything goes.
Oh yeah.
Shapeways is paid. So this is where you're getting more. You have to pay Shapeways to print the stuff for you. So you have to trust someone is printing it for you. I'll be honest, I used Shapeways once and it worked, but I wouldn't again, only because I didn't like the anxiety. Yeah, there was nothing about. I didn't like the anxiety. It's more of I don't know who's printing it and where. I'd rather.
So you gave them money. They essentially said, "Oh, we're going to get this printed for you." And
exactly,
is it individuals that are printing? It's not the company.
I have no idea. idea.
Okay.
Exactly. Right. So that's the problem. So it's up to you. So Shapeways is up to you. But then you also have companies, and you just have to kind of browse around. So, for example, you're interested in Battlefleet Gothic, Soulforge Studios. Just look up Soulforge Studios. They have a lot of STL files that you can download and just basically use. But even for terrain, you have stuff like Hextech. which is what I
Yep.
mentioned before. Hextech is a wonderful, wonderful place to print stuff. You have let me see here. Where else? You have even Facebook groups. Facebook groups now even sell STL files.
Yeah.
And honestly, you can also find people who print STL files for you, and they're corporate like Vanguard. So Vanguard Miniatures, they do
Mhm.
epic style miniatures and Battlefleet, like spaceships. I'll put it this way: spaceships.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent jobs, and I own a lot. And Dave can, I don't know, maybe they look good to you. I don't know, maybe they look good to me and no one else.
Is that where you
But
got
they
your
print some
Battlefleet
pretty
from?
damn good looking. Yep, those are the strike cruisers I
They
have.
look good. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no, they do a good.
those
They're
are
good
resin
quality
printed.
stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so honestly, you just have to look around for what you want, right? Another place is Pop Goes the Monkey. Hold on, Pop Goes the Monkey. Another wonderful website. Pop Goes the Monkey is
I've never heard of them.
for
I gotta look them up.
oh, check that. Oh, I took them out right now if you want. Pop Goes the Monkey is quite literally Warhammer 40,000, but bits, right? So I don't, or and they do have some kits. Oh my god, actually, I just saw one of their. Oh my Lord, have mercy. So, Dave, you know what Dread Knights are? The baby cage for
Yeah.
yeah. They actually did a bit where they cover the baby cage in like a chest plate. Oh, oh Lord.
Okay. That's
And
awesome.
I don't want to start Grey Knights, but no, they do more.
Don't.
They do more bits, you know. And if they have
Yeah.
full models, like full kits, I see that they have new full kits. They're not GW, but they look cool. Like, let's say you have White Scars, right? They're very
Mhm.
Mongolian-esque, right? That's their theme. They have a
Yeah.
full kit for a Dread Knight size or Dreadnought sized um, model. Now, it's not a Dreadnought. It doesn't look like a Dreadnought at all. It looks completely independent of a Dreadnought. But if you want a really cool samurai looking model that could be proxied as a Dreadnought,
Yeah.
you
There
know
you
what I
go.
mean?
Yeah.
They have stuff for rhinos, like little tops for rhinos. And that's the cool thing. Like you could, and this is, they print the stuff for you in place. I've ordered from them before. Um, so again, like the main point I'm trying to make is for anything, just look around. Terrain is a big one, especially on Thingiverse. You can find a absolute metric butt ton of STL terrain, and you would
Oh,
not
yeah.
run out ever. You'd probably burn your printer out before you run out of terrain to print. And it's just that's the thing. That's what it comes down to, honestly. Um, it's just if you don't have a 3D printer, it's okay. And you know what the cool thing
Yeah.
is? The companies don't take advantage of you, right? They could easily say you don't have a 3D printer. I'm going to jack up the prices. But like for example, what did I buy? Hold on, let me find it. There we go. So I bought 10 power fists that look like custodies, right? So power fists are these big, big energy fists that these super genetically modified guys have. Very slow, but they punch through tanks essentially. And custodies are
Mhm.
essentially the golden version of that. So they custom made custodies power fists to look more custodies, less plain.
Hmm.
They look beautiful. So a set of 10 of them was $10. Or sorry, $12. $12 with
That's
shipping.
good. That's actually very good.
That's not bad. That's not
Nah,
a bad
it's not bad
deal.
at all.
$12. That's those are bits, that's less money than what I'd find on eBay, but that's around the right price. And they came out excellent. They came out beautiful. So yeah, like yeah, it's what am I
It's a
saying?
lot of options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Um.
yeah, that's all I have to say. If you don't own one, it's okay. If you don't want one, it's okay because there is not without want of where you can get stuff.
hmm. What I'd put as sort of a final suggestion as we sort of wrap up this topic and
Yeah.
wrap up the night. Um, if you haven't looked into it all or anything like that, look around, take a look on Thingiverse, see the sort of things that are out there. If you have no interest in having one, that's absolutely fine. But take a look at it. See
Yeah.
what people have actually done. I can almost guarantee a lot of the stores you go into, if it doesn't look like the standard GW terrain, most of it's probably 3D printed now, or at least a good
Yeah.
portion of it.
I
So
100% agree.
yeah, I think there's a lot of good.
Oh, I should point out if you're searching for it, use code words.
Yo, yeah, that's the
That's
other thing.
yeah,
To
use
avoid,
code words.
especially on Thingiverse and stuff like that, if you're talking about say Necrons or anything like that, okay,
Wait, not Necrons,
it's
space
like
zombies.
yeah, space
Space
zombies,
zombies. Come
space
on.
skeletons and things like that. So don't
Yeah.
be if you Google search it, you can put the real name in. And if you don't know what kind of weird phrasing you should use, Google search it, put the real name in, put in, 3D print, and then find the first person who mentions it and what they call it. You will be able to find it. You can pretty much find anything, but obviously sometimes the names change or what someone decides to call something. But well,
Yeah.
hopefully that was of interest or helpful to someone. Obviously, let us know if anyone did find that useful, or if they look into it after we talked about it. Is there anything else you would like to mention before
No,
we head off for the night?
no, I love the, just if you're going to 3D print and have it, then go for it. If not, ask a friend. They'll print it for you and you just pay them. It's that
That's
easy.
true. Yeah, remember, it's this hobby is a social hobby. You probably got someone in your local store, assuming you go to a store, unless you're in some one of the countries or an area we don't really go to stores. But if you do, there's
Pubs.
probably someone in your store who has it. If you ask them.
Yep, I agree. All right, man. Well,
All right, yeah, I think we'll call it there. Thank anyone who does listen. As always, if you want to reach out, we have an Gmail is probably one of the easiest ways. Our Gmail is terrainkickers@gmail.com. If you have any notes like that, anything that you want to tell us, feel free, if you do listen, to leave a review on whatever your podcast application of choice is. We're still waiting to be listed on certain ones like iTunes and all, because it just takes iTunes forever. But we're at this point, we're on a lot of the other ones. So as we show up in the other ones, we do ask if people enjoy what they're hearing, to leave a review. If you have suggestions or anything like that for future topics, please let us know. Other than that, we'll get on out of here and see everyone next time.
see everyone next time.